What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video we have the Master League Battle of Spice featuring 19 of the craziest Master League teams ever assembled. It was supposed to be 20, but again someone didn't actually give me access to view and download their submission, so unfortunately there's not a lot I can do about that. Anyways, for anyone wondering how they can participate in a competition like this, I want to give a quick reminder that tomorrow, Saturday the 10th of February, is Go Battle Day, so I will once again be hosting the Battle of Spice, but this time it will only be in the Evolution Cup, since I don't really think there's any need to have two Master League competitions so close to each other. To find out more about the competition and submit your entry, visit the link in the description, but with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What's the most random Pokemon you've powered up to level 50 in Pokemon Go? Maybe it's not useful for raids or the Go Battle League, but it's just your favorite Pokemon. I don't know, just let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we lead Shadow, Alolan Sandslash into Reshiram awfully, but the opponent's going to swap out straight away, so that implies they're not running Fire Fang, otherwise they certainly would just stay in. We're going to come in with our Shadow Vileplume. You can see it does have that best buddy ribbon, only reaches 2879 CP, and unfortunately that Fire Punch did most of our health. It looks like even if we shielded there, they probably could just Mud Shot farm us down, so we're actually not going to use a shield. Instead, come back in with our Shadow, Alolan Sandslash. Now we're going to shield this. Obviously a Fire Punch would one-shot us, but we can now go for the Powder Snow farm down. The opponent's going to come back in with the Reshiram, and you can see it is Dragon Breath, not Fire Fang. We're going to go for an Ice Punch bait, which is a bit risky, but the opponent actually respects the damage there. We're now going to go for the Drill Run. This is super effective damage. It does about half of their health, and then they swap into a Lugia. So Shadow, Alolan Sandslash actually pretty strong against the entire team. We're now going to swap into our Shadow Kanto Muck. We are going to shield at the last second. It's an Aeroblast that certainly would have taken us out. We've now got either Thunder Punch or Dark Pulse to throw. Both will be super effective, although unfortunately they're still not going to do that much damage. Lugia is incredibly bulky here in the Open Master League. We reach a Dark Pulse, but Dark Pulse will still not KO, but it does put them into farm down range for our Shadow, Alolan Sandslash. Sky Attack will be taking us out. They come back in with the Reshiram, so we fire off the Drill Run straight away, taking out the Reshiram, and we can make it to an Ice Punch at the last second. We're going to fully undercharge it, and even then it still KOs the Lugia, and we're able to take that game. So going into next battle, we've got a Tapu Bulu into Rayquaza. So unfortunately for both Pokemon here, they're going to be dealing a heavily resisted fast move damage. The opponent's actually going to go straight for a Breaking Swipe here. That doesn't make an awful lot of sense. They could have at least gone for one more Dragon Tail and made it seem like they were running Aerial Ace, but I don't know. We are going to go for the Dazzling Gleam. The opponent's going to shield that up and once again just go for another Breaking Swipe. So we're just going to let this go through. Still not going to do too much damage, but honestly, they have actually done some decent damage there overall. They're going to swap into a Groudon now, so we go for Grass Knot. Unfortunately doesn't do that much damage, and then we lose the CMP tie here, so not ideal for us. We're actually going to let the move go through. Fire Punch takes us out there, so not wanting to use a shield on our Tapu Bulu, we're going to come in with a Porygon Z. Gonna shield. It's just another Fire Punch, so this opponent loves to bait here. We're now going to go for a Tri Attack. Hopefully it KOs from this range. It will be quite close. The opponent actually going to use the shield there. Now we should be able to live this fairly comfortably. And it is just another Fire Punch, so I don't know if the opponent's just not double moved or if they just are addicted to baiting, but either way, Jamie Finn, if you're watching this, there have been so many cats that have died in this battle already, but we're going to go for a Tri Attack up against the Kyogre coming in. Tri Attack once again gets the attack and defense drop there. Pretty clutch for us. We can live this, and since their attack is debuffed, we will let the move go through. They come back in with Rayquaza, and you can see we're trying to make it to that Zap Cannon, but unfortunately they make it to the Breaking Swipe. They don't get the attack debuff though, which is pretty fortunate for us. We're now going to go for the Zap Cannon, one-shotting the Rayquaza, and we will just barely make it to a Drill Peck. Does this KO the Kyogre from this range? It actually doesn't take them out there, but the opponent stops attacking, I think, and we're able to lock on, farm them down as the opponent makes it to a Surf, and we're barely able to take that game. Into next game, we see Poliwrath into Metagross, so this is a very positive matchup for us, assuming they're not running Psychic, but that's very unlikely. We're going to go for a Scald straight away, grabbing a shield, gets the attack drop, so the opponent swaps into their Dragonite, and we can make it to an icy win. Now, Poliwrath, bit of a menace in the Great and the Ultra League, and here proving to be a bit of an issue for the opponent's team, even in the Open Master League, as we can let that go through, and because we debuff them, we're actually able to make it to a second Icy Wind up against this Dragonite. Icy Wind will grab a shield there, and we grab both shields from the opponent. We're now going to come in with our Charizard. We can let the first move go through here. They are double debuff, so Dragon Claw not going to do too much damage there. We're going to overfarm just slightly, go for a Dragon Claw here. This will be taking out the Dragonite, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They're going to come in with another Dragon and Flying type Pokemon in the form of Rayquaza. We go for the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw honestly does not do that much damage. They're able to fully Dragon Tail farm us down, which is not ideal for us. We're going to come in with the Sneasler. We're actually going to no-shield the first charge move. They don't get the debuff, which is huge for us, and then we end up losing CMP, so we're going to have to shield at this point. We have very minimal health remaining. Aerial Ace from this range probably still won't KO the Rayquaza. It barely doesn't take them out, so the opponent swaps out straight away into their Metagross. Honestly, I think the play for the opponent is just going for a full Bullet Punch farm down, because throwing that charge move there allows us to make it to a close combat, and close combat is going to be enough damage to take out the Metagross, and we can Shadow Claw, farm down the Rayquaza, and take that game. Into the next game, we see Alakazam into a Tyranitar, and we are running counter, so dealing huge damage there. You see, we tried to swap into our Shadow Granbull to catch the charge move, but for whatever reason, the switch did not register, so forced to stay in, use a shield. We're going to go for a Shadow Ball, which will do huge damage if they let it go through. They are going to shield their Gyarados. We swap into our Granbull. We're actually running Snarl and not Charm, so a lot faster to make it to the charge moves, but unfortunately up against a Togekiss, dealing basically no fast move pressure whatsoever, and unlike the opponent, they are dealing a lot of fast move pressure with their charms, and we don't even make it to a second charge move. We're now going to come in with Rampardos. We're going to commit a shield here, just an ancient power, but honestly, that will still do quite a lot of damage to the Rampardos. Hopefully we can farm them all the way down, and we get the farm down just before they make it to the next charge move. Absolutely huge, and now a Rock Slide is going to do huge damage to the Gyarados, and we're able to smack down, farm them down, simultaneous KO, and we're able to take that game. Into the next game, pretty good lead for us as we lead Staraptor into a Giratina. The opponent's going to Safe Swap into a Xerneas, and we do not have a response whatsoever, so going to respect the damage from the Moonblast here. They don't get a debuff, which is pretty good for us. We're going to farm to 100 energy, fire off a Brave Bird, and Brave Bird does connect. It does huge damage there. The opponent probably not expecting it, since Staraptor's best or typical moveset is now Fly and Close Combat, and not Brave Bird, but now we've grabbed a shield from the opponent. We put them into farm down range for our Greninja to come in, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They're going to come in with a Landorus. We can outpace them, go for a Hydro Cannon here. Hydro Cannon going to do big damage if they let it go through, which they do, but they do hang on and they make it to a charge move. So we're going to shield this up, use our final shield. They go for a Stone Edge there, not wanting to debuff their defense, but it doesn't really matter because they swap out straight away anyway, so a bit of a pointless play there from the opponent, but we're now going to go for a Night Slash into the Giratina, and we get a boost, and then we make a swap to catch the charge move here. Honestly, Greninja pretty squishy in the Master League, so maybe would have just barely hung on there and survived the Shadow Ball, but instead, we're going to come in with our Shadow Garchomp. The opponent does throw here, but it's just an Ominous Wind, and that allows us to make it to a charge move, but also, we're so low that we're not going to give that Landorus an awful lot of farm. They get 3 Mud Shots in, but 1 Water Shuriken takes them out. I think they were at the charge move there, but we're able to fast move, farm them down, and take that game. But into the next game, awful lead, and oh my gosh, the opponent running a Charm Gardevoir into our Hydreigon. That is really unfortunate now. We are going to see the charge move get shielded. They can fully farm us down, and we're going to wait out the switch slot, of course, come in with our Aggron, and unfortunately we are running Dragon Tail as the fast move as well, so no fast move pressure whatsoever. We're just going to have to let this move go through. Aggron pretty useless up against the Kyogre, so we're going to go for the Heavy Slam here. Heavy Slam is going to grab a shield from the opponent, and the opponent's going to swap back into their Kyogre, so we come in with our Jolteon, and what can Jolteon do? In the Open Master League, we're going to go for the Discharge straight away. Discharge gets them low, and the opponent looks like they were farming to an Origin Pulse. They don't actually make it there at all, which is huge for us. We can go for a second Discharge, and Discharge is going to take out the Gardevoir from that range, and we are resisting the Bullet Punches here because of the electric typing, and the opponent throws their energy. This should allow us to make it to a Zap Cannon in time, and how much damage does this do to the Metagross? It one-shots them, and we're able to take out the Metagross and take that game. Into next game, we see Garchomp in the lead, so Ursaluna could have quite a lot of charge moves here. It could have Ice Punch. Unfortunately, we're not running it, but I think we probably got Ice coverage on our back two Pokemon. So the opponent baits with a Sand Tomb. Doesn't really matter what they throw there. We could live it on our Ursaluna, so good no shield, and very good for us that they did go for that bait. Honestly, we can probably still live an Earth Power, even though we are debuffed. Ursaluna does have quite a lot of bulk here. Unfortunately, they do make it to another charge move. We're actually going to shield this, which I'm not so sure about because, yeah, we're then going to swap, clear the debuffs, but we're giving up switch advantage with a Pokemon that gets heavily walled by many Pokemon in this meta. But we are able to shield that up, go for the full farm down, and the fact that they didn't swap out implies that they're probably quite weak to this Avalugg here, and they certainly are as they come in with a Giratina Origin form. We can double debuff them with the Icy Winds here. Second one will connect. It actually doesn't do that much damage, but it's going to put them into range where with the Powder Snows, another Icy Wind will KO, and honestly that Shadow Ball doesn't do much damage at all after 2 debuffs to its attack. Icy Wind from this range will be taking out the Giratina, and the opponent's got a Togekiss in the back, so going to go for another Icy Wind here. Of course, Icy Wind not going to do as much damage as the Rock Slide there, but just debuffing their attack makes it a lot more comfortable for us. We might even come in with the Ursaluna here, just because we're not so sure what charge moves the Togekiss could be running. We're now going to go for a high horsepower. That's double resisted. It actually still doesn't quite take them out, and they are debuffed. We probably should live anything they throw, but it's just a resisted Ancient Power, so able to easily tank that, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we've got a Shundo Sceptile into a Kyogre. A very good lead. The opponent going to say swap into Togekiss. Honestly, I'd probably swap into our Chandelier just because we do resist the charm damage. And if the opponent wants to, they can probably double shield and flip this matchup. And then we're in a lot of trouble because we'll have Chandelier aligned to their Kyogre. So not ideal. And then they go for the Ancient Power, get the boost as well. So they're definitely going to shield this move. And they will be able to fully charm farm us down. So really not good for us. We're going to wait out the switch shock here as we don't want to come in straight away and farm them down in time, because then they can just come in with their Kyogre, but the opponent, because of that boost, is actually able to make it to another charge move. Ancient Power would be super effective, so we're forced to shield that since they were boosted, but they come in with Gyarados, and this is huge for us because this Shadow Ball does nearly all of their health. We can now swap into Sceptile. We're going to over farm here, go for a Breaking Swipe. I'm not really sure why we're going for the Breaking Swipe here. I guess on the odd chance that they live that, but I mean Leaf Blade going to do a lot more damage there, and it is stab, so Leaf Blade definitely would have KO'd either way, but it doesn't matter. We're able to make it to another Leaf Blade before the opponent can make it to a potential Blizzard to take us out there, and we're able to take out the Kyogre and take that game. Into the next game, we see Darmanitan into Garchomp, so the dream lead for us. The opponent is going to swap straight away into Annihilate. We actually take quite a while to swap out there, just thinking about what to do. We're going to come in with the Golisopod. Are we going to shield the first charge move here? Yes, we are going to shield. It is the Shadow Ball, and we should put them into range where Liquidation would barely not KO, but we're actually going to bait. Such a risky and unnecessary bait there. I'm not really sure why we baited. X-Scissor is double resisted by the Ghost and the Fighting typing, but the opponent does let us take them out with a Liquidation, and now they're going to come in with a Togekiss. So we're going to go for Liquidation number 2. Liquidation gets them into the yellow health. We're actually going to swap out straight away into our Darmanitan, and it kind of makes sense since both Pokemon are weak to the Ice typing in the back. We're able to fully Ice Fang, farm them down, and now this Garchomp is not going to appreciate the insane damage from these Ice Fangs. Double super effective. We go for an Avalanche, grabbing the first shield from the opponent. The opponent has to throw to get rid of us here. They are already close to the red health with just fast move damage alone. Now we're going to come in with the Heracross. This should be game over. We can live an Outrage fairly comfortably on our Heracross, and we are resisting the Mud Shot damage. Rock Blast going to grab the final shield. We're then able to swap, catch the charge move onto our Golisopod. It is the Outrage, and now we can just counter, farm them all the way down, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we see Greninja into Togekiss, so not a great lead whatsoever. Gonna say swap into our Porygon Z, and the opponent's gonna swap into a Hydreigon, so we could be running Blizzard, and the previous Porygon Z in this video was running Blizzard. We're just running Tri-Attack, but we do get the attack and defense drop, which is pretty huge for us. This is now gonna do a lot of damage, and we get a second attack and defense drop. We're even gonna shield this up, shield up the Brutal Swing. Can we outpace them to the next charge move? We are able to do so. The opponent gonna have to double shield here if they want to maintain alignment, and that's exactly what they're going to go for, but they can go for a full Dragon Breath farm down, and as well, unfortunately, all of our charge and fast moves are resisted by the Hydreigon here. So honestly though, we have put them into range where a Hydro Cannon will take them out, and as well their defense was debuffed from those tri-attacks, and now the opponent's got a Mewtwo in the back, so this is actually looking pretty good for us. The opponent going to throw on alignment here, so we get a full Fire Spin in for free. They're going to bait with a Side Strike, not ideal, but we can make it to a Blast Burn, and Blast Burn is going to do huge damage to the Mewtwo. They just barely hang on though. They make it to another charge move, but it's just another Side Strike, which is huge for us. Now we can just go for a Blast Burn. Blast Burn, going to do big damage there, and the opponent throws their energy, which is best case scenario for us, as we can make it to a last second Hydro Cannon in time, and this will be enough damage to take out the Togekiss, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we've got a triple fighting theme team, and we see a Dialga in the lead. Now, we've got two counter users in the back, so it does make a lot of sense to swap out there. We're going to come in with our Buzzwole. We might shield the first move just because we're going to debuff them with a Lunge, and we are going to do exactly that. Now, Lunge is going to debuff their attack. The next Fire Punch isn't going to do as much damage, so it always makes sense if you're intending to shield, just shield the first one if you are running Lunge. But here, the opponent going to go for another Fire Punch. We actually live that fairly comfortably, and we can probably live another Fire Punch if they do want to shield this up and then go for it, but the opponent, recognizing they're not going to be able to flip this matchup, so they just let it go down. They come back in with Dialga, and we're actually going to go for another Lunge here. I'm not so sure about this, and the opponent is going to call the bait there, which is a huge call. We're now going to come in with our Annihilate. We have debuffed their attack, but even if they go for a Draco Meteor here, it's still going to do huge damage to the Annihilate, and now they swap into a Shadow Metagross, and this is looking a lot tougher for us. We're going to go for the Shadow Ball. Of course, the opponent will respect the damage this time, and they do use their shield. We're going to wait out the switch clock as long as possible, come in with our Combo O, and you can see we're running Close Combat and Boom Burst, so it will be interesting to see if we see a Boom Burst BM, but it's quite unlikely because this battle looks pretty impossible right now. But here we go for the Close Combat. We need to make a catch, and we are able to make the catch onto our Buzzwole perfectly. Meteor Mash, they actually undercharge that fully, which is a good play. They're going to get one extra Bullet Punch in for free. We are going to farm to the back-to-back Close Combats here. Really smart play, as this will be enough damage to, of course, take out the Dialga, but a second Close Combat should be enough damage from this range to KO the Shadow Metagross, and we're able to take that game. So really good to hold on to the energy there, expecting the opponent to try and make a catch. But into the next game, we've got a triple bug team in the Open Master League, which is something you don't see every day. Or at all if you don't play the Master League like I do. But here we're going to shield up the Shadow Ball from this Goldengo. We're now going to go for another Night Slash here, throwing just before they make it to the next charge move. Night Slash probably still won't quite take them out here, but we get the boost, and that's absolutely huge. Now, I mean, it's pretty compulsory. When you get a boost with Night Slash, you're going to use both your shields. That's just how it is. We farm to the back-to-back Night Slashes here, so even if they do shield, we can fire off the next one straight away. But the opponent recognizing we're at the back-to-back, so they do let that move go through. They're now going to come in with a Gyarados. Unfortunately, we are not hitting for much damage with our fast move since a Bullet Punch is resisted. We're actually going to swap out of that matchup into our Shadow Pinsir, which doesn't make an awful lot of sense since we can only hit for resisted damage, but the opponent maybe just don't know what the moves are, and they end up shielding a X-Scissor, which is huge for us. They go for a Crunch, taking out the Pinsir. We're now going to come in with our Escavalier, and this is not a good matchup either. Unfortunately, only resisted damage to throw. The opponent goes for another Crunch there, hoping for a debuff. They're now going to come in with their Metagross. We're going to farm to the back-to-back drill runs here. The first one should put them into range where a second drill run will KO, and now it's just, can we somehow take out the Gyarados? It's going to be super close. We swap back into Sizzle, and we are barely able to make it to the Night Slash in time, and Night Slash should be enough damage. Actually, no, it doesn't quite take them out, but one counter takes out the Gyarados, and we're able to take that game. Who was worried? I certainly was. Into the next game, we're going to see a Tapu Lele into a Mewtwo, and we're running Astonish as the fast move, which did get a buff this season. So, I mean, obviously Confusion would be very bad here, but Astonish actually makes this matchup look pretty good. We swap out, we try to catch a Shadow Ball onto our Darkrai, but maybe the opponent is running Focus Blast, or they just weren't going to throw straight away. But either way, the opponent swaps into Kyogre. We should just barely live a Surf. Darkrai is a very classy Pokemon, but Surf doesn't quite take out the Darkrai, and we can fire off a second Dark Pulse. And Dark Pulse is going to grab the first shield from the opponent. We're now going to wait out the switch clock fully, come in with our Tapu Lele and go straight for a Psyshock. And from this range, Psyshock barely doesn't take them out, but one more Astonish does the job. They're going to come back in with the Mewtwo. We're just going to call a bait now, and the opponent is going to go for a Side Strike once again, so huge call. We can now come in with our Pangoro, and the opponent responds with a Dialga. Now, we're just going to fire off the close combat straight away. This won't quite take them out, but it does huge damage to the Dialga. The opponent is going to fire off their Charge Move immediately. We're now going to overfarm here, farm to the back-to-back charge moves, actually overfarming a little bit more than that, because even though we are very low, we're debuffed in our defense, these Psycho Cuts will not be enough damage to take us out. So we're going to go for the first Night Slash, grab the final shield, they go for the farm down, but we make it to another Night Slash in time, and this is certainly going to be taking out the Mewtwo, and we're able to take that game. Into next game, we see Electivire into a Togekiss, so pretty good lead matchup for us. But I'm sure it's one of those matchups where if the opponent wants to, they can just double shield and fully charm farm us down. Here we end up throwing on alignment, so very bad fast move timing, and that just means it's going to be even easier for the opponent to fully farm us down. We're going to go for a Thunder Punch, not actually running Wild Charge, and that allows the opponent to fully farm us down there, and they only had to shield once as well, which is not ideal for us. We're going to shield this move, they go for an Ancient Power. Ancient Power doesn't get the boost this time, so we can go for the Fire Spin, farm down, and the opponent comes in with Palkia, so we need to get out of this matchup. We go for Brick Break, we actually grab a shield there. I suppose we could be running Thunderbolt as the Community Day charge move there, but we're going to go for a second Brick Break. That does not do much damage up against a Palkia whatsoever, so we come in with our Surf Etch. They respond with a Melmetal. They're going to fire off the charge move straight away. This is looking tricky for us. They go for a superpower, so they're going to debuff their defense. We're just going to go straight for the close combat here, and if the opponent, for whatever reason, doesn't throw a charge move straight away, we can go for the close combat up against the Palkia. Will this KO? Yes, it does take out the Palkia, and we're able to take that game. So a definite mistake from the opponent there, not just firing off the Aqua Tail straight away. But into the next game, we're going to see a triple evolution theme team with Vaporeon in the lead. Very good lead up against Metagross. The opponent tries to make a catch there onto their Kyogre, and we can respond with our Leafeon, which is amazing for us because this Leaf Blade is going to do over half their health. I mean, we can see it isn't a fully powered up Kyogre, that has to be said, but we can go for a second Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade grabs a shield from the Kyogre, and we can just let this move go through. It's just a Surf. It's not going to do that much damage. They will just barely make it to another Surf though. So at this point, we will shield this up. We're going to go for a full Quick Attack farm down, and we will come out with 2 more Leaf Blades loaded. Unfortunately, it will be resisted up against the Metagross, but they are fairly low already just from Water Gun damage. So we get them into the yellow health range. This second Leaf Blade will get them into the red health range, and now we swap into our Vaporeon once again, fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail gets them, well, gets the first shield from the opponent. It looks like we CMP tied there. We can just let the Meteor Mash go through. Even an Earthquake wouldn't take us out from that range. Aqua Tail number 2 takes out the Metagross, and they've got a Mewtwo in the back, so we can make it to another Aqua Tail before the opponent makes it to a charge move to get rid of the Vaporeon here. They're going to fire off their charge move straight away. We can just safely let the Side Strike go through, come in with our Glaceon, and we've still got a shield remaining, so this should be game over for the opponent. We can just go straight for an Avalanche here, shield up the first charge move, doesn't matter what they throw. They're not going to make it to another charge move if we just fire off this Avalanche straight away, and from this range, Avalanche takes out the Mewtwo, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we're going to see a Thundurus into Melmetal, so not an ideal lead for us, but we are running Focus Blast, so that'd be crazy to see if we can land a Focus Blast in this battle. We're going to shield up the first move. It is a Rock Slide, so that would hit for super effective damage. Probably wouldn't quite take us out, but we're full sending the Focus Blast, and unfortunately the opponent does use their shield there, so not ideal, but the opponent throws on alignment there, which is pretty good for us as we do get a full Volt Switch in for free. Unfortunately not going to make it to another Focus Blast in time here, so the opponent already makes it to a third Rock Slide, and then they swap, they catch the, I don't even know what this charge move is, Wild Bolt Storm, and that does actually at least get an attack drop, which is pretty good for us because Charizard, very classy in the Open Master League. We're going to go for a Dragon Claw, get them fairly low, and it puts them into Dragon Breath Farm down range. I don't believe Shadow Ball will be taking us out now. No, it certainly does not take us out. We can get the Dragon Breath Farm down, and they come in with a Charm Togekiss, so we can just barely make it to the Blast Burn. This is going to do huge damage if they let it go through, over half of their health. They've still got a shield though, so this is a little bit tricky for us. Gonna fire off the charge move straight away. The opponent's gonna go for the Ancient Power. Ancient Power does not get a boost. They swap into Melmetal. We're able to swap out, and the opponent ends up throwing their energy here. Huge mistake. Could have just farmed us down, but instead we can now go for a full Incinerate farm down. Perfect farm down there, and we come out with back-to-back charge moves. So Disarming Voice should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. Actually, the opponent just lets that go through, knowing it was game over, and we're able to take that game. Into the next game, we got a Tapu Koko into Excadrill, so awful lead for us. Gonna say swap into our Shadow Arcanine. We're gonna go for the Scorching Sands here, and Scorching Sands gets caught onto Lugia, so really smart play by the opponent, really unfortunate for us. But we're gonna farm to the back-to-back Wild Chargers here. The opponent doesn't throw here, probably committing to a full Dragon Tail farm down, and that will at least grab a shield from the opponent, unless they just want to sacrifice the Lugia, which is quite unlikely, so they do end up using their shield. Now they've got so much loaded energy, but Tapu Lele completely walls Lugia. They go for Aeroblast, although I say wall, that done a lot of damage there. This should just be a Sky Attack though, so we can let this go through, and we can commit to a full Volt Switch farm down, but instead, we're going to get an energy advantage on our Decidueye, knowing that the Tapu Koko isn't going to be able to do much up against the Excadrill whatsoever. They're going to go for a Scorching Sands there, which is a very interesting play, fishing for a debuff probably. We're going to go for a Spirit Shackle, and the opponent actually calls the bait there. Or they just know that they can live a Frenzy Plant, but either way they go for another Scorching Sands, once again not getting the debuff, which is pretty huge for us. Unfortunately we end up losing CMP up against this Annihilate. They go for the Ice Punch, we're going to go for the Spirit Shackle straight away. Spirit Shackle grabs a shield, and it should be 6 counters to make it to the next charge move. So we're going to go for a Spirit Shackle here, and I'm sure we are counting. We're going to try and make a catch, and we do make the catch. The opponent actually had to throw there because otherwise we can just fire off the charge move to get rid of them. But now we come in with our Decidueye, and we're able to get the perfect farm down there. And now we can go for either charge move. We actually overfarm considerably, a bit unnecessarily as well. But Spirit Shackle takes out the Excadrill, and we're able to take that game. Into the next game, we see Greninja into a Giratina, so pretty positive lead matchup for us. Night Slashes aren't going to do that much damage, but the opponent's going to swap into Rayquaza, and we can hard wall them with our Shadow Aggron, and this time this is actually hard walling because Breaking Spike not going to do much damage whatsoever, and we're going to commit to a full Dragon Tail farm down. They make it to another charge move, but we can tank this fairly easily, and we can go for a full Dragon Tail farm down and come out with a Meteor Beam loaded, and this is just neutral damage, but from a Shadow Aggron that actually forces a shield, so probably would do more than a Night Slash, so it certainly makes sense to shield that up. We're now going to go for a Night Slash into the Giratina. They're going to let the first one go through. Unfortunately no boost, but we make it to a second Night Slash already, and the opponent is going to shield up the Giratina, and at this point we can probably just let this move go through, save our shields for our Shadow Gengar. Ominous Wind, not going to do much damage whatsoever. We're now going to go for a Night Slash once again. Night Slash is going to get the Giratina into close to the red health range. We're once again going to no shield. This time they do full send the Shadow Ball, but we can come in with our Shadow Gengar, go for a full farm down with the Shadow Claw damage, and what does the opponent have in the back? It's going to be a Goldengo here, and we can just fire off the Shadow Ball immediately. Shadow Ball easily one-shots the Goldengo, and we're able to take that game. And into the final battle of this video, we've got a shiny Shadow Mewtwo in the lead. Not that spicy for the Master League, but then we've got an Ultra League Registeel and a Great League Wigglytuff, which is a bit of an interesting, weird combination here. But we're going to call the bait there. The opponent does bait with the Side Strike. We're full sending the Shadow Ball, and we take out the Mewtwo. And now the opponent's going to swap into Mamoswine. We're going to swap into our Registeel. And this is a bit of an awkward matchup here. We're going to shield this up as the opponent's going to go for a Bulldoze. That's definitely not the right play. You should be running high horsepower on your Mamoswine for the Master League. Focus Blast grabs a shield here. We're not going to be one of the typical Registeel users that goes for a Zap Cannon even when it's double resisted. Here we're going to let this move go through since we know it is just a Bulldoze, which we actually live there on our Ultra League Registeel. If that was high horsepower, honestly, the opponent just farms us down at this point. But because it was a Bulldoze, we actually make it to another Focus Blast in time. Absolutely huge. That still doesn't quite take them out there, but it does get them into farm down range. And now we come in with our shiny Shadow Mewtwo. So unfortunately, Wigglytuff not really going to do anything in this battle here, but Shadow Ball one-shots the Metagross. We're actually going to stop attacking here just to make sure that we can show off that we do have our Wigglytuff in the back, but honestly, Could have even used like a pretty low CP Pokemon there, would have been the same result, but we're able to take that game. So that's gonna be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.